everyone, and welcome to the Koala Club podcast, a podcast made by and for international students in Australia. I am Kevin.
And I am Trang, and we talk about everything education, work, and lifestyle for overseas students in Australia. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Koala Club podcast. Hi Kevin, how are you?
Good, how are you, Trang?
I'm good, thank you. So today we are presenting a first episode in a mini series on an overview of bachelor courses. And I guess it's a very special episode because today we have a guest speaker as well. So we've got Linh Tran, who's currently in a final session of a Bachelor of Computer Science at University of Wollongong. Welcome, Linh. Thanks for joining us.
Hi everyone. It's an honor for me to be here. My name's Linh. Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, very nice to have this chance to have like an interview with you, Linh. And like Chang said, this is a first of our mini series, and we thought we would start with a bang. So Linh is one with very impressive profile, so that's why we have the honor is ours.
Yeah. Linh is currently a software engineering intern at OVO. Previously, she's done several internships, also software engineering at Optiver Asia Pacific, at Bellish, and she's also worked as a software engineer at WiseTech Global. Kevin, do you want to tell us about Ling's achievements?
Yes, Linh is a StartMed student fellow in the summer of 2020 and 2021. And during her study years in Wollongong University, she's also in a Dean Scholar list at the uni. Also, Linh received a 30% off tuition fee for the University Excellence Scholarship at University of Wollongong. She's also has an outstanding student award for foundation studies and diploma of IT courses at UW College. Like Trang, Linh is also a past leader at UW College as well. During high school, she's a champion of the teen high school in 2017. And I think the most special thing about Linh as well is she has a YouTube channel named Linh Ei, with over 22,000 subscribers. So I don't know if we it is like it seems like not our show, you know what I mean? Like
well, Linh will definitely take the spotlight today.
Yeah, like I said, very impressive, and we're very happy. But overall, Linh is a very down-to-earth students, and we feel like, you know, through her video, she's just one of our normal students. So we feel very honored as to have Linh here with us today to have this talk.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll include a link to Ling's YouTube channel in our show notes. So definitely check it out if computer science is an area of interest for you. And if you want to learn more about Linh, then for sure check it out.
Thank you guys so much. I'm very flattered.
Well, we prepared a few questions for you, Linh, because we're very curious to know about your course and yourself as well, and your progress and your journey. So yeah, let's just start with the questions.
Okay, well, I'll kick off with the first question. So can you tell us what led you to picking the Bachelor of Computer Science as your course?
Yeah, so it's actually a pretty long story. I actually started coding when I was like 12 from middle school. I fell in love with coding, I think a year after that. I thought I was born to be like a programmer. But then I got into high school, and high school where I did a lot of like extracurricular activities, and that interest kind of shifted a little bit. I thought I wanted to become like a event planner or like pursue marketing or communications, until like I went to Australia for foundation studies, where it kind of, when I didn't join as many extracurricular activities anymore, and I had the chance to kind of learn just like beyond my own, and then discovered like a long lost hobbies, and then I kind of like got interested into computer science again. But at the point, I was not really sure whether I actually wanted to pursue CS, because I had the same stereotype that people who do CS, who do computer science, would be like nerds, and I don't want to be associated with that, which is like embarrassing to say. Yeah, but then so I thought I would go into like IT or business information systems, because kind of like a little bit related to computers, but it's not as nerdy. So I took a diploma of IT at University College. So I'm glad I did that because it gave me the options to switch to CS, or I could like keep going into IT or BIS. It's very flexible. So after I did 1 year of diploma of IT, I'm like, oh, computer science is actually pretty cool. So I decided to progress into computer science. I got into Bachelor of Computer Science at University of Wollongong.
I think these days being nerdy is actually cool, but we'll talk more about, the stereotype later. Now, you mentioned that you in the diploma course, so that is kind of your first step in your course structure, right? So what is the duration of your course after that, and the course structure? Also, you can go a little bit into the first year subjects generally, and then, second year, do you delve into your major straight away, and any practical components or internship required within your course?
So I actually made a video about that. So I'll plug a shameless
We will link
promotion
it.
here.
We will link it to the show
We'll link
notes.
it.
There's no shameless promotion here. Don't worry.
Yeah, so my diploma of IT is equivalent to the content that a first year student of computer science will have, in which I learned in my diploma year, I learned about like programming fundamentals, object-oriented programming, web programming, as well as like database stuff. So it's very basic concept about computer science, about programming in general. So some concepts that are like, whether you do CS or IT or BIS, you still need to know about these things. After the first year, and I got into like more in depth because I picked computer science. I learned more subjects, like in-depth subjects about computer science, such as like advanced programming, where we learned about C++ and learned about like memory management. I also learned more advanced topic about database system as well as like project management. I think around like halfway through my second year and my third year is where I focused more on my major, which is big data. I took more subjects about database performance tuning, data mining, AI, like all those buzzwords about big data. I also, in my last year, I also did like a capstone project, which is like a required components of our degree, in which I just spent a whole year working on a project with like a real life business, solve their like business problems using IT. And by the end of that last year, by the end of the third year, we had like a trade show where we would kind of showcase our projects and what we did, what we learned. And I feel like that component was like really practical, and I learned a lot from that. It's kind of like when all of the theories that we learned from first year and second year came together, and we learned how to apply like agile project management, as well as our technical skills like programming, system design, a little bit of like machine learning into our project, and just like create like a whole like real life thing, which is like really cool.
That's really cool.
Wow.
That capstone project or subject sounds very dynamic, like you need to combine a lot of your hard skill and also soft skills into it as well, and teamwork as well.
That's true.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because you've listed out like all the, I guess, the topics you've learned in the 3 years, and that is like a lot to squeeze in 3 years, I think. But amongst those topics or subjects, what was your favorite subject and what was the least favorite, and why?
It's pretty difficult to pinpoint what my favorite components and least favorite components, because like in the end everything came together. But my most favorite subject is definitely the capstone project. Most favorite topic, I would say when we learned about like algorithms and data structures, that really excites me because it's when I kind of apply my problem solving skills. And even though I can stuck in an algorithm, like a problem for hours, the moment I can solve it, I feel like I'm like the smartest person in the world. So that's like a really good feeling to have. My least favorite components, probably when we learned about like network communications in the first year, because that subject was like very like theory heavy, and I was more like a software girl. Like I enjoy like building softwares, but not really into the hardware like networking stuff. But during my internship at Optical, like that's when I learned that it was actually pretty necessary to learn about those. Yeah, so I'm glad it came in handy later in the journey.
How do you think that major will shape your future career path?
So my major is big data, but after I study that major for like 2 years, I don't think it. I don't think I'm gonna become like a data engineer. I think I realized that I want to be like a software engineer more than like pursuing the data path. I didn't regret like taking big data as my major because I did switch from software engineer to big data. And I feel like the big data major gave me like exposure to that field because like, big data was very big at the moment. Everyone was trying to get into big data. So I'm glad I took that initiative during my uni years and then realized that I don't really like it. And then switched back to software engineer. And it also gave me like the opportunities to learn to explore the like machine learning algorithms. That part I actually really enjoyed, even though like I didn't end up choosing that path. I think it still gave me the options to maybe later down the line I wanted to get into data. I would still have that background knowledge that I learned during my uni years in order to like get into it later in the future.
Yeah, amazing. I just had a question that popped up in my head, Ling. For non-IT background people like myself, can you like basically explain in normal English what a software engineer does? Because I would have
Yes.
no clue.
Yeah, sure. So as a software engineer, software engineering is like a very big field in itself, but basically as a software engineer, I would kind of build webs or software applications that solve a specific like business problems. And in order to be a software engineer, like you would have to know about like the current like modern technologies, put them together, learn about system design, how to design like a great system, great architectures that is like scalable. So like when you have like other software developers come in when the business want to add like more features to the product, you can still like expand it. So I find that like building things as a software engineer is kind of like doing Legos. So you kind of put bits and pieces together, and when you actually see your product got deployed and people actually use it and enjoy using it, they can write reviews or feedback to you and be like, oh, these features I used the other is actually very handy, or these components you build like the website so beautiful. That's just like the feedback that I really enjoy. That's why I choose software engineer. Whereas for big data, so you can do data mining. So you got given a set of data, you can get it from like surveying or just like from collecting from various sources, and you would try to kind of do data mining, so try to get the the information, like some insights from it, or you can use this information to kind of do machine learning to build a model that can help you predict a business problems or classification. So maybe whether, for example, like you have like a set of names and you try to predict whether the female names and male names will have like different characteristics, and therefore you were given a name, for example, Jessica, and the model can tell that's like a female or male. That's basically one of the many data problems.
Oh wow! Thanks for that. Thanks for explaining that. I definitely have a
I don't think I
better
do
idea.
a really good job at explaining it. I miss a lot of details, but that's one example.
No, that's definitely helpful.
I think you say it perfectly well. There's so much things going on in software engineering and the tech industry in general, and your answer just make it so concise about the core of it, really.
Now, Ling, you had a few internships under your belt, and you're currently doing an internship. So, can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, your two favorite internships, or even like part-time jobs you've had in the field, and what benefits did they bring to your development in programming skills?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say my most favorite internships are probably the first one I got, the first real internship I had and the most recent one. So my first internship ever was at a startup, which is Bellish. So it's when I was a web developer and I kind of built the business was about generating knitting patterns, which is like sounds really interesting, sounds really cool. Because like before that, as a girl, I was just like, oh, I'll have to like build this like very masculine software or like very like practical software. But then the website, the internship, the business that I worked on was like generating knitting patterns, which is actually something I really enjoy doing in my free time. So that was really really cool. And I had the chance to work in like a startup environment, so it's a very small team. Got the chance to like just directly communicate with my mentor or even like the CEO, the CTO to get my ideas out there as an intern. So that internship, I definitely learned a lot. I learned about what is like the actual technical like tech stack were being used in the industry. In school, we probably learned about HTML, CSS, JavaScript as like in the web subject, but in real life, you need a little bit more than that. You need to apply it, put it in a framework on your library. You have to know a lot about Git, like version controls and how to like the difference between test environment, the test environment, staging environment, and production environment. Like no one told me about that until I actually interned at that business. And I asked them, so if I change this piece of code, how do I know that I wouldn't break this in production? Because I was so scared. And he was like, it's not that simple to break things in production because it has to go through like 3 different environments. So yeah, and all in all, it kind of it boosted my confidence a lot. Like at least I knew what's happening. Yeah, so that was very memorable. That internship was also part of like a student fellow program from a startup accelerator. So I got to meet a lot of other startups in the Australian startup world as well, and saw how they founded their business, and yeah, just like see other like innovative people. That was really really cool. Yeah, and then my most recent internship was actually like at a bigger companies, at a high frequency trading firm, which is Optiver, and it was like a complete different experience. First, it was in an industry that I've never thought I would be because yeah, I just don't know anything about finances. Somehow I got like an internship at a trading firm, so that was interesting. And then one thing is I got to work with very, very smart people. Fun fact, I interned with the chess grandmaster of Australia. I got the chance to work with very, very smart people. And they were from like very big universities like UNSW, Uni Melbourne. I think there's one from Cambridge as well. So that was like a very, very different environment. And I learned a lot. And like I also learned a lot more about like low latency memory management, how to write efficient code. And it just taught me to kind of delve into like the uncomfortable zone. Yeah, it's definitely putting myself out there. I learned a lot throughout all of my internships. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think that's the whole idea. That's the whole thing about internships, is it to throw you out of your comfort zone, and by then you learn and you develop and you progress a lot. Yeah, so thanks, Linh, for very detailed answers and description about your 2 favorite internships and the skills you gained from it. So through that experience, do you have any advice or tip for future or current computer science students on how to search for and also secure those internships before you even graduate?
Yeah, so I think it's difficult to secure an internship. I think the only advice is just to apply, because I know a lot of my friends were like way more talented than me, like way better programmer than me. But it's just like we all, as students, we all have like the imposter syndrome, and we feel like we have to tick all the boxes in order to apply. But I think the only difference between the person who got an internship and the person who didn't get it is because they didn't apply. So yeah, just hit that apply button. Even though you feel like you're very not qualified, still just hit that apply button, because I mean, like worst scenario is like you don't get the internship, which would happen anyway if you don't apply. So it doesn't hurt. Just a button. So just brush up your resume and hit the apply button, and then it might or might not take you to like a very interesting journey later. So,
Yeah. So when did you start applying for internships?
So I started looking for internships like after my first year, because I realized that 3 years of a bachelor degree is really short, and companies, like bigger companies, they would look for penultimate year students. They will start recruiting in the beginning of your university year. So so penultimate year student is second year. And so you have to apply in the beginning of your second year, which means that you have to like start your process at the end of your first year. So I think that's like one drawback of a 3-year degree, is that you actually don't have that much time to prepare, because by the end of your first year, you don't really know that many things.
Yeah, that's really helpful for our listeners who are interested in computer science, because that's really good to know that they need to start preparing early in their first year to start applying, to not miss out on the opportunities.
I really love the first advice about just have to start to apply, because that's very raw actually, because a lot of this advice about like flashy resume or whatnot, but none of that's going to be matter if you don't get out your comfort zone and apply, if you don't get, that first step.
Okay, so I guess coming to our final question, and I think this is a little bit deep, but I think there's probably an elephant in the room about this topic. So as you're a girl in the tech or software industry, you are probably still viewed by a lot of people as like breaking the stereotype in programming, because it's a very male dominated industry. What advice do you have for girls or women who are considering a study journey and a career path in software engineering?
Yeah, there are definitely more women in tech now. That I don't think like me studying computer science is necessarily like breaking the stereotypes, but that's still like at some point like computer science or tech in general still feel like a boys club. And in my most recent internship, I was the only girl, the only IT girl among like 28 other guys. So it's definitely felt like that a little bit. However, at the same time, like there are a lot more support than before for women in tech. So definitely for girls, like if you're enjoying programming, if you think is you might have a shot, you're good at math, good at problem solving, or even if you're not good at that, like you just think you're into computer science, you think like programming is cool, then just like just do it and like start your first Hello World line like as early as possible. I'm glad that in Australia, when I moved to Australia, people around me, they didn't judge me based on my gender. Like they pretty much don't really care. Like I just do my thing. And not until I started like doing computer science content on YouTube and people like started commenting, that I realized that in Vietnam, there probably still like some stigma around women in tech, females in tech. And yeah, so I just want to get that message out there, is that it's fine. Just do it. At the end of the day, I don't think there's any barrier between like a woman and men's brain around coding. Like you're good at that. You're just good at that.
Whenever I see reading these news titles or Instagram, whatever, they say like, oh, person A or girl breaking stereotype in coding and become successful. Like I always have these mixed emotions. Like on one side, I'm really happy for the person. I'm really happy that this bring more exposure to the, the girls in coding or whoever get less chance in coding, for example. But on the other side, I'm also feeling very sad, because I think it's 2022. There shouldn't be even a stereotype existing in any profession, right? So let alone programming and coding, we should not have any of this stereotype, and anyone should have had a chance of on education to get exposed to this industry and do whatever they like.
Yeah, that's true. That's Tyler like kind of assume the stereotype that girls is not supposed to be in tech.
Yes.
So yeah, having that headlines alone is kind of like sexist.
Yeah. Well, exactly. But I'm also very happy in Australia, or in and more so in the world now. We all trying to create a better world for our future generations, and especially future boys or girls to get into whatever they like, and
Yeah.
get good at it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think one thing is that I think girls in general, like we do suffer from like imposter syndrome, like a little bit more severe, because we were taught and we were told that like we're not supposed to be in this field. Yeah, so it has nothing to do with our ability. It's more like since we feel like we're not qualified enough, so it takes us like more resistant. It takes us more effort and more like mental ability to start applying. That's why it resulted in less people taking that initiative and get into tech, and therefore like you see less women in tech, if that makes sense. So just yeah, if you're suffering from imposter syndrome, just remember to, if you don't do it, it doesn't break the status quo. So let's just give it a shot. If there, whether there's like 1 or 2% to you get this internship, you get this job, just do it, just apply for it.
Yeah, very well said. Like it's all about breaking the barrier these days, especially in 2022. And very well said from yourself, Ling, and Kevin as well, because it's like when you like you're a girl and you think about entering an industry that was predominantly male dominated, then you see, oh, there's not many female. Why is that? Like, will I be accepted? But you just got to take that first step, like you said. What an amazing conversation that we had with you, Ling, and it's so impressive just listening about your experience and your passion as well. We can see like how passionate you are about this field, and I have to say I don't remember what I was doing at 12. Definitely not coding.
Yeah, I think I started off as like switching parts in the like phone, so that because I have my parents would have like 3 or 4 phones that didn't really work, so so I would like swap, when like Nokia phones, like they are pretty modular, so I kind of like swap the batteries and swap the stuff here and there, so that in the end I had one phone that worked. I think I think it started like that got me into computers.
Wow, amazing. They are very lovely conversations. We've found out a lot about you and your journey. And in turn now, after all these questions, we feel like it's only fair if you have any question for us.
Yeah, sure. I think what you're doing, like making a podcast for international students, is really like meaningful. So I just want to know, like, what was your, when was everything started? When did everything start?
Yeah, I think we get asked this a lot. But
we do. We can shameless plug our first episode.
Yeah, shamelessly. If you want the answer to this, you need to listen to our episode number 1.
but we give you the answer here anyway.
Yes.
Do you want to answer this, Chan?
I guess Kevin and I, we both worked at the uni as Vietnamese student liaison officer. So we used to like contact future Vietnamese students about their offers to the uni and if they had any questions, and we would be like really happy to share our experience as students in Australia and at UW in particular. So I think that sort of like started our passion for helping other international students, and it's only 6-7 years after we graduate, then we turned that passion into like a real life project. And Kevin came up with the idea of a podcast, and he approached me, and I was like, we'll do it. Why not? Let's try it out.
It only takes 7 years in a pandemic for it to happen. So
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, because you've lived here, you also work with international students as well. Like, do you have any kind of advice for students who are like choosing their degree, like picking between majors?
Again, please refer to our previous episode. No, I'm kidding.
What? How to choose your course?
Yeah.
We have one. We link it. We shamelessly plug it. Don't worry.
We'll relink all the episodes.
Yeah.
I guess a general tip is choose what you're passionate about. As you've shown, like the example with yourself is you're so passionate about it, you're so interested about it, so I guess you'll never stop learning, and it won't be like work when you actually have to work, so it's a lifelong career that you're picking, so why not pick something that you're really into?
Yeah, I agree completely. I know it sounds cliche, but yeah, if it's something you enjoy, you don't feel like you're working every day. That's very true. So of course, do your research, see what's your strength or what's your goal. Do you want to like live and work in Australia for a long time, or do you want to build up some kind of skill and knowledge so it can help you on a journey back to your home country to for your career there. But at the end, if you're wondering between one and two or this and that, always follow your gut is my advice. Like follow what you're passionate about.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Ling, for joining us on this fine Sunday night. We really appreciate your time, and we loved hearing about your experience with your internships and your course, the Bachelor of Computer Science. And yeah, we definitely know that the listeners will appreciate and enjoy this episode as well. So we'll definitely link your YouTube channel to our show notes so that our listeners can check you out too, as I know your YouTube channel is very informative for those who are interested in this field.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks guys for tuning in. And if you haven't followed us on Instagram or Facebook, please do at the Koala Club Podcast. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, we'd love a rating or review from you. Thank you.